What's up, homies? Welcome to another episode of Heroes Reforged Reads a Comic Book. This time, we're talking about Invincible, Volume 7, Three's Company 2. We're going to jump right in. We're back in the main Invincible line. We've done all of the tie-ins up to this point. All of them. Brit, Tech Jacket, Capes. We're covered. So now we've come to Volume 7. Some big stuff happens. We have the return of Angstrom Levy as the main big thing.
So intense.
I want to start with Adam. Overall thoughts, dude.
Yeah, dude.
The first thing I really appreciated was because we had kind of gone off and we had read two side story spin-off books. I really appreciated the first page. You get a really quick recap of like everything that happened. Because there was a little part of me, I was a little fuzzy and I was like, wait, where did we leave off with Invincible again? And then they recapped it and I was like, great, perfect, wonderful. I'm so happy for that.
Literally Debbie Grayson going, let me recap for a second.
Yeah. And I loved it. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect and I loved it. I actually really liked this volume. And there was a lot of questions that I think I've personally had over the course of reading this for now last 2 months. In particular, Eve in Invincible and Mark.
Oh, man.
The revelation that we get that, she is in love with him. And I don't think any of us doubted that, but it was nice to actually get that confirmation. And now he kind of has this struggle, this inward struggle of Eve or Amber.
Yeah.
Eve or Amber. And as much as he keeps telling himself, well, it's Amber, it's Amber, it's Amber. I think I feel pretty confident on where this is going to sort of start shifting.
Okay.
But I really did enjoy the story, and I continue to feel very fulfilled every time I read one of these volumes. I feel like I get to learn so much more about these characters. We get to learn a lot about Robot in this, and Angstrom Levy having this pretty significant role, and what it leads to essentially, and how Mark really kind of taps into his inner Viltrumite was very interesting.
Yeah,
and
that escalated quick. Mark killed a guy.
Yeah. Not just killed the guy, turned him into a bloody pulp.
Mark, I've been meaning to talk to you about this. I think that you should lay low for a while. He killed a guy.
I hit him with a trident.
Yeah, it was insane, but I really liked that. It reminded me of the moment in Return of the Jedi where Luke nearly kills his father, and then he stops himself and he realizes, if I do this, I'm no better than what my father has become. And I feel like Mark has a little bit of that moment too, where he's like, I killed this man. Like, I just let myself go.
Yeah.
And I beat this man to death. And so it's interesting to kind of start getting those sorts of feelings. I mean, we're not that far into the story. There's still quite a bit to go. So I'm interested to see how we get more of that and more of those sorts of feelings and emotions developed.
Yeah.
Augustine, overall thoughts, rereading
it. It solidifies my love for this comic. I think this is where a lot of stuff pays off. We get more payoff with the Mauler twins, because at this point the Mauler twins were just kind of like, what are these guys doing? Like, what purpose are they going to serve? And here they have a giant purpose with Robot, because they not only help Robot, we reveal that Robot's been controlled by Giant Baby this whole time, or the Giant Baby is Robot, but also the reveal where Robot goes and joins the Guardians of the Globe and tells Monster Girl that he says, hey, I've been doing this for you. You're like, what are you talking about? Like, this doesn't make sense, but it kind of does make sense, because, maybe he could do a body transfer on her. But everything is starting to pay off, and everything's starting to click in such a cohesive way. And everything that we've read so far is paying off so well. And brand new things are starting to develop. It feels like Eve and Mark are meant to be, but right now it's just like super duper rocky. This volume didn't have a lot of crazy action-packed sequences in it. Yeah, but it just made up with it. Just one big one. But it made up with it with a lot of heart-to-heart moments. Like the heart-to-heart moment with Art and Mark, and then the heart-to-heart that Eve and Adam have. Eve and Mark have in Africa. It's a lot of these characters connecting that really makes you feel like, guys, even if we stop filming this, I'm not going to stop reading this comic. Yeah, I'm just going to keep going at this point, because I'm that invested in these stories.
And I think, too, the thing that I enjoyed about this was I feel like volume 6 and 5, for the most part, were very, very action dependent. Or not dependent. They steered more towards the side of being action-packed and really big and bombastic and made us really feel like the world was huge. And I think just like any successful movie that you can really kind of connect to, this volume, like you were saying, is very much personal. It's about the relationships. It's about the love that characters have for each other. And I think that's why ultimately it's enjoyable to come back to this book every week, because you're invested in the characters, you're invested in their relationships. You're really invested in Debbie's relationship with Mark. And I love the fact that her role continues to become more and more and more important. And now having Oliver, the younger brother, become a part of it. I love that.
I forgot that was Debbie's dad's name. Oliver.
I forgot that too.
Beautiful. I'm like, oh, this is the beginning of a great part of the Invincible comic book that I love is Debbie and Oliver keep going at him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that I really enjoyed about it. I just really like that the book continues to really develop these relationships and enhance the relationships, and you just care about everybody. And I think that was the big difference between this and Tech Jacket. I know Tech Jacket was one volume, but even so, you can see kind of where the seeds were, and how Robert was able to take what he started with Tech Jacket and really elevate it to a whole new different level with Invincible. And I'm going to be really, and we have so much more of the story to go, and if characters die or whatever happens, I know I'm going to be heartbroken because I'm already way invested in all these characters.
Well, how bad did you feel when Angstrom kidnaps Mark's mom?
Oh, and he breaks her arm?
Breaks her arm.
Yeah.
Maybe punched her in the face.
I had to put the book down for a second and kind of collect my thoughts and then go back into it, because I was like, oh man, I hope Mark gets him.
So brutal. And Kirkman wrote him. I felt the evilness. Like I felt that this guy was going to be relentless. No remorse. He was going to hurt Mark's mom for as any way he could.
This character feels like, up to this point, like a arch enemy, like a Norman Osborn to Peter Parker. Whereas those comic book universes, something like Marvel or DC, they might have feelings kind of getting close to this, but this book just takes it to that level of like the way that Angstrom was written, the way that Mark was reacting to it, the fear in his voice, the everything that he was going through, what Debbie was going through.
Yeah.
Even Oliver like crying in that scene, it just felt so fucked up and it, like a rated R film, and like something that like the moments in Logan where X-23 is in danger, you're like, that's a little girl. I'm not like stoked, like this is awesome, cool violence. I'm like, I don't want this to happen to these characters. Terrifying. And I think that what ends up happening with Angstrom is kind of a really great resolution for what Mark's going to go through, because because we're going to feel the effects of him like making that decision, and also it was kind of out of his hands. And he said, he told me he was stronger. He told me he was stronger, and like he just went too far with it. But back to what Adam said a second ago, talking about how this book doesn't feel like there's that much action. I mean, the dread was there, but one of the things that Robert and company talk about in the back of the book is like, this is one of the covers of one of the issues. It's just your characters out of costume, sitting, and you're still so invested. And this is like probably the best superhero comic book ever. And you get to a point like that. And I think that like what you're saying, Augustine, the payoff of these characters and these stories, it's awesome. The fact that we read Cape, so it's like, we know who Kid Thor and Knockout are, and that's them in the future. Dope. Like, it's great. It's all so great when you're fully invested in the entire universe. I love seeing Mastermind come back from Brit. I love the way that Mark took care of him by dropping a rock super high.
Sorry, guys, I didn't have an earpiece, so I had to do it from afar.
He's like, did I hit him? Like, what's going on?
And then it hits him, and Shrinking Ray was like, I had this one. Come on, dang it.
He was so mad. So mad.
So mad. But
I'm very happy that we read all that extra stuff, because now whenever Britt and Bolt showed up, as much as I didn't like Capes, I was very happy when I saw Bolt show up, because I was like, I know this guy.
Yeah.
I know what he's going to do. It's great.
That wasn't Bolt. That was the new character, Shapesmith. This dude that was shape-shifting as different people when he himself was fighting the Lizard League. He shapeshifted as Brit. He shapeshifted as the Immortal. He shapeshifted as Bolt. Yes, that was not those characters, dude.
I missed that completely.
That was this here is the Shapesmith.
Yeah.
playing all of these roles.
Oh my god!
And then
I missed
because
it 100%.
it's just him, and then you turn the page and it's just him versus the Lizard League, and all these cops show up,
I
and then he
missed
runs
it.
away.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
actually,
So-
I actually also enjoyed that because I don't remember where we left off with that alien, with that Martian character.
Yeah.
I don't know if we.
Yeah.
I think it was volume 5, maybe also volume 6.
I don't remember.
But it was
what
funny
issue.
because I was reading it and I'm like, whatever happened to that Martian character that got on the spaceship? I literally flipped the page and I was like, oh,
There we
read
go.
my mind, read
Yep,
my mind.
yep.
But I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool that he incorporated the way he incorporated himself after watching the news and being like, oh, a
Yeah.
superhero. Maybe this is something I should try.
Yeah.
He
I
learned
like
about
that.
Martian Man. He learned about
Yeah.
Martian Man and how he was active. So I want to touch on one thing before we double back to Angstrom Levy, because there's some
Yeah.
real important stuff with Angstrom. But how did you guys feel about the part where Mark starts reading his dad's books and you
Oh,
turn the
man.
page and it's this awesome layout of like the space
The Invincible
racer
gun.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the Invincible gun, and
Yeah,
you turn the
yeah.
page again and he's realizing what he's reading. Adam, what did you make of this moment? First time reader. My
mean-
dad is telling me how to beat them. This is
I-
it. This is
I loved it. I loved it because I think for Mark to discover that there is a blueprint that his father left him to help defeat his enemies
Yeah.
is like it gives you a little bit of an insight into what type of character Omni-Man is. Very complicated, layered, not as evil as you think he is, but also not the most trustworthy person. There's a lot of layers to the character, I feel like. And even having this like blueprint, I'm still like, just how much should Mark trust him?
Yeah.
How much faith should he put into, what Omni-Man is doing for him? How much is he really trying? Everything, I feel like there's a motivation behind everything. And I'm always just a little bit hesitant anytime Omni-Man comes back into the picture because, yes, he is his father. Yes, he is a superhero, but you still can't deny all the things that he did.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of this uncertainty. There's a little bit of this trustworthiness that I'm still lacking with the character. So I really want to believe that Omni-Man is just looking out for his son and his sons, but I always have to question if there's some other intention in the back of his mind, whether it is defeating the Vultramites, whether it's taking over, whether it's defeating some other alien colony. There's always a little bit part of me that questions the motivations and the motives themselves.
that might be smart, Adam. I don't want to give too much away, but that might be smart. Last thing I want to talk about, he flipped around into parallel universes with zombies,
Loved it.
with Omnipotus. We saw him again, where he's like, "How did you get here?"
Yeah.
My
Where?"
favorite part,
You know?
my favorite part last week was when we talked about doing another crossover after this, and I was like, "This has to be Spider-Man." And sure enough, I flipped the page, and I'm like, "Well, there's Doc Ock and Spidey."
There you go. There you go.
And then he also encounters Batman, and I'm like, "This is
Yeah.
great. I love
He's
this."
like, wait, I just had this conversation with you.
So
Yeah.
what did you? How did you? What did you make of that Spidey little cameo? I mean,
it's great. It's
Was
great.
was it surprising at all, or were you?
No.
Was Hector talking about it too much and it didn't surprise
No,
you?
I mean, I had already known previously that there was that Spider-Man Invincible crossover book.
Yeah.
So I had a feeling that at some point I actually thought it was going to be way later. I didn't think it was going to be this early. I feel like Volume 7 is still pretty early.
It's very early. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't expecting it to be this soon. But when Hector brought up we might be doing another crossover, I was like, is it going to be Spider-Man? I don't know how many more crossovers are left.
well, guess what book we're
was
reading
cool.
next? Boom, baby! There it is.
I need to buy that
I think
one.
that's really cool, though, that
Yeah,
they did
it's
that.
great.
It's super cool that Marvel let Robert Kirkman, who was writing this book at the time, Marvel Team Up, bring in his own original character, his own creator-owned character. So we're going to read the whole thing, but really there's only one issue that's the crossover between Spidey and Invincible. We're going to spend the whole next week talking about it, but this is Marvel Team Up Volume 3, League of Losers. This is what the back of it looks like. League of Losers.
Love to
And
see
this
it.
collects Marvel Team Up numbers 14 through 18, and specifically the one that we are going to be reading and really talking about is 14. I'm going to read the rest of it because I just want to see what the hell the rest of this is. I've never read it, but I own
What?
this floppy
You've
book.
never
I have
read it? Wow. Okay.
just for this because I have the single issue in my collection of Invincible single issues, which I don't have every issue of, but it is one of my favorite single comics that I own and one of my favorite single comics that I've ever even read.
That's
That's what we're going to be doing next week. The last thing I want to show off is when we meet Angstrom Levy, he has like this really cool design. The back of the book talks about how he needed to be designed before he showed up in the book because they were making little figurines used in a game called HeroClix. They made an Invincible set. And so...
Of course you have the hero
right
click
here.
of Angstrom.
I got him right here.
Of course you do.
There you go.
Little Angstrom
Do the
Levy
little
action
makeup.
right there.
There you
we
go.
go.
Boom.
There
That's
we
awesome.
go.
That's
He's got
actually
the big
really
brain.
cool.
Yeah.
With the little brain and
The
the little
big brain.
coat. Some of them, some other ones here. I've got Titan. Come on. Anyway, and my favorite one, my most powerful one, is Omniman.
Nice.
Right there. But I also have fan favorite Alan the Alien. Come on, dude.
There you go,
Come
my boy.
on, dude.
Yeah. Adam, do you have any predictions as to where this story is going to go?
Not
you just
really.
along for
I
the
mean,
ride?
I'm really along for the ride. I've there's been definitely some of the issues that I've read. I'm like, where is this? Where it could be going? Could it go here? Could it go there? But I found that if I just kind of ride the wave of the story and just kind of coast through and read it and just let it be, I feel like I've spent way too much time trying to figure out what the story's doing. I feel like I'm just doing myself a disservice because then I'll read it. I'm like, oh, I wish they would have done this instead. I kind of like just diving into the book and just letting the experience wash over me, then closing the book and thinking about it. I mean, man, this was just very satisfying. And I like that satisfaction. I like being able to pick it up, read it, and feel like I've really advanced forward in the story. I've never felt like any story or any issue was a hurdle. Even some of the side ones that I'm not crazy about, I still feel like it's always just expansion of that universe. And I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I feel like I know the universe a little bit more than the casual reader at this point, just because of those extra tie-ins that we've been reading. So yeah.
Well, speaking of the side stuff that might be a little bit of a hurdle, we should probably just really quickly mention this. There's an issue of a series in the back of this collection called The Pact.
The Pact.
And the main thing that we need to mention about this is because it's not really, it feels like it could be in continuity. I mean, I think it definitely is, but some of those other characters like Fire Breather and Shadowhawk aren't really in the rest of the Invincible series the way that like Capes and Super Patriot and all these other characters are. But the main thing about this issue in the back, if you didn't have a chance to read it, Adam, because I know Augustine, you read it. You read it. Yeah.
Adam read it.
Doc Seismic comes back.
Right.
That's it. That's the main thing because he fell down the ravine or whatever last time we saw him. And in the back of this collection, they say that the next Invincible issue shows him in jail. So so if you didn't read the Pact, there's a little continuity error. But we read it, so we're all caught up. We're good to go.
I think we're so prepared for this show, actually.
I'm so excited.
Super
for
duper
the show.
prepared.
Overly
for the show.
prepared.
But
I'm
I'm really curious what they're going to do and where they're going to end season 1.
Well, I think that's what makes me excited about the show in the first place is the fact that I feel like we're all confident that we've read well far ahead of where the show is going to be in the first season at the very least.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because adding as far as we've gone is a lot. It's a lot to pack. But it's going to be also interesting to see the things he wants to rewrite and the things that maybe could be done a little bit better, which I don't know if there's a lot that could be done better, but hey, if Roberts feels like, he wants to swap up the story a little bit, then do it up, my man.
And I'm also excited to just see like where the finale is going to be and how close it is to the book, because they also did talk about how the movie is also going to be very different from the comic book and the animated show. So I'm really curious to see how we experience this story in 3 different mediums and what's going to be quote unquote the best. But I'm just looking forward to all 3, especially after reading the book. I'm going to feel super prepared, and I'm just going to be so happy to experience both.
I hope we have an Avengers Infinity War moment in one of these pieces of media, either the comic. Well, I've already read the comic. Well, I haven't finished the comic, so the comic or in the animated show or in the movie. Just I need that moment, something where I just stand up and scream.
Spoiler alert! I think we're gonna get that moment whenever we get to the Invincible War. That's a real thing. That's all I'm gonna say, Adam. But I'll tell you one other thing. Could maybe be improved, which I didn't love in Volume 7, Three's Company. I've just rewatched the movie Mean Girls. It's a great movie, the Lindsay Lohan movie, but
love it.
They do that thing in that movie that Hollywood is so guilty of, which is like, oh, she's from Africa. Really? Where in Africa? What country in Africa? Africa, where there's a guy holding a spear and there's just, like Africa.
Yeah.
This book does the same thing. Eve is staying in
yeah.
Africa, in the continent of Africa, and it doesn't. Yeah, you could get some specifics. Also, she
so
could
So
have
many
been
countries that you can pick from.
so many countries, so many cities. You know, don't do that typical Hollywood thing where it's like we're going to Africa. People are in huts. It's like there's cities. It's modern. There's cities there. Don't do that. Don't do that shit. Don't do that. But
I agree.
we'll see what kinds of changes we're gonna get. The important thing is next week is Spider-Man, baby. Marvel Team Up,
man.
issue number 14, but it's volume 3, League of Losers. Check it out. That's it for us today. Join our Discord to talk more Invincible stuff, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.